When Eilat Mazar realized she discovered an ancient structure near Jerusalem, she turned to the Bible to help explain what she found.
For 3,000 years, the palace of King David lay hidden under Jerusalem's ground. Then, one archaeologist made a discovery that changed the understanding of biblical history. Dr. Eilat Mazar revealed something surprising just before she died in 2021, even more shocking than the discovery itself. Was this really the palace of Israel's greatest king? Or had her years of faith influenced her scientific decisions? Today, we will uncover the truth she defended until her last days. Stay with us until the end, because what she said in her final interviews could change everything you thought you knew about biblical archaeology. Eilat Mazar's revolutionary approach. We need to know who she is to understand the importance of Eilat Mazar's discoveries. Eilat Mazar was born in 1956 into a family dedicated to archaeology. She is the granddaughter of Benjamin Mazar, who played a key role in developing modern archaeology in Israel. As a child, Eilat Mazar did not play in sandboxes like other kids. She spent her summers at real archaeological digs. She learned to read pottery shards as easily as others read books. For her, the ancient stones of Jerusalem were more than just history. They were part of her family. Eilat Mazar took a different approach from many archaeologists. While others doubted the Bible, she used it to guide her work. Her philosophy was simple. If you want to find biblical sites, start with the biblical text. Some criticized this as unscientific, but Mazar believed it was good detective work. She thought the texts were written by people who lived in those places and should not be ignored. Before she gained fame, Mazar made impressive discoveries. In the 1980s and 90s, she found ancient seal impressions with names from the Book of Jeremiah and large walls from the time of Solomon. Each finding suggested that the Bible's historical accounts might have more truth than skeptics believed. Her work earned respect, even from those who disagreed with her methods. She published her findings in respected journals, taught at Hebrew University, and led major excavations. Mazar was a serious scholar with a unique approach, not just an amateur with a dream. By 2005, the archaeological community was divided. Some, called minimalists, believed the stories of David and Solomon mainly were myths created long after those events. They saw ancient Israel as a small, unimportant culture. On the other side were the maximalists, who believed that the Bible contained real historical memories. Mazar strongly supported the maximalist view. In 2005, Mazar focused on Jerusalem. The city of David, the oldest part of Jerusalem, had been excavated for over a century. Many archaeologists thought there was nothing left to find, but Mazar had studied a specific biblical passage for years. 2 Samuel 5:17 says that David went down from his palace to a fortress. Mazar saw this as an important clue. If David went down, the palace must have been on higher ground. Mazar identified a specific area on the northern edge of the city of David that others had overlooked. Later Byzantine ruins covered it, so previous archaeologists hadn't dug deep enough. She gathered her team, secured funding despite doubts, and prepared to dig. What she was about to uncover would either prove her methods right or hurt her reputation. She was about to find out which it would be, the discovery that shocked the world, unearthing the large stone structure. The excavation started in February 2005. Soon, archaeologist Eilat Mazar realized she had found something remarkable. As her team carefully dug through dirt, they discovered large cut stones much bigger than those typically found in buildings from that time. First, they found a nearly 6-foot thick wall, followed by more walls. Over the weeks, the outline of a large structure began to show. This wasn't just a house or a merchant's villa. It was built to impress and had stood over Jerusalem for about 3,000 years. This discovery's massive size made it essential. The walls were made of large stones, each weighing several tons, fitted together without mortar, a technique known as dry construction. This method is standard in ancient royal buildings. The structure measured about 30 by 40 meters, which was huge for Jerusalem in the 10th century BCE. In contrast, most homes then were small, often single-room spaces around 50 square meters. This building resembled a royal palace. Its location was also important. It sat at the highest point in the ancient city, where you'd expect a royal palace. It offered stunning views of the Kidron Valley from miles away, showing power and authority. Determining when it was built was crucial for Mazar's claims. The team used various methods to establish a timeline. They first analyzed pottery found in the structure. The styles, clay types, and manufacturing methods pointed to the early 10th century BCE when King David ruled Jerusalem. Carbon dating of organic materials from the foundation supported these findings. Olive pits, burned wood, and other remains date back to around 1000 BCE, give or take a few decades. The layers of earth and construction, known as stratigraphy, also supported this timeline. The large stone structure sat on bedrock in some places, while it stood over remains from the late Bronze Age in others. Above it were clear structures from the Iron Age too. The building fit well into the history of ancient Jerusalem. News of the discovery spread quickly in archaeological circles. Soon, scholars worldwide came to Jerusalem to see it for themselves. Reactions were immediate and intense. Supporters pointed out the evidence. The building's location matched biblical descriptions. The dating aligned with David's reign, and its size suggested royal construction. They argued that this was the first archaeological proof of the united monarchy, the biblical kingdom of David and Solomon. However, critics raised questions. They asked why there were no inscriptions, as royal palaces usually had carved stones detailing the king's achievements. They also noted the absence of luxury items like gold and ivory, which would confirm it was a royal residence. While impressive, they questioned whether it really was David's palace. Mainstream media quickly picked up the story. King David's palace found became a headline worldwide. Television crews arrived at the excavation site. Mazar, who usually preferred staying in the background, suddenly found herself in the spotlight. This discovery resonated with many people beyond archaeology. For many, it wasn't just about ancient stones. It touched on faith, identity, and the reliability of the Bible. If David's palace was real, what else in the biblical narrative might also be historically accurate? Tourism to the site increased significantly. Both religious pilgrims and curious visitors wanted to see the stones that might have belonged to Israel's greatest king. The Israeli government recognized the site's importance and took steps to secure and preserve it. As excavations continued, Mazar's team made another important discovery. The large stone structure was not alone. It connected directly to the stepped stone structure, a massive retaining wall that had puzzled archaeologists for years. This connection was significant. The stepped stone structure, dating back to the 10th century BCE, was already accepted. If the palace was linked to it, that confirmed its age. Such a large retaining wall would only make sense if it supported something impressive above it, like a royal palace. Together, the two structures formed a striking complex that would have dominated the skyline of ancient Jerusalem. This discovery was not just a building, but a powerful architectural statement that reshaped the city. What made Mazar believe this was David's palace? Eilat Mazar based her research on the Bible's description of David's palace. She spent years studying every mention of it in Scripture, and her archaeological findings closely match these ancient descriptions. The book of 2 Samuel tells that Hiram, king of Tyre, sent cedar trees, carpenters, and stonemasons to build a house for David. This was more than just a construction project. It showed a gift and partnership between two kings. Mazar discovered a large structure that fit this story well. It was made to impress visitors and show royal power. The Bible also says that David went down from his palace to the fortress. This detail led Mazar to search the slope from the known fortress area. She found the large stone structure exactly where the Bible indicated, on high ground above the fortress. The location of this building supports Mazar's theory. In ancient times, building a palace showed power and prestige. This structure sat on the northern summit of the city of David, the highest point in ancient Jerusalem. From there, a ruler could see their entire kingdom. The palace overlooked the Kidron Valley to the east, the Central Valley to the west, and essential routes from the north and south. This site makes sense for a royal residence. Additionally, the structure was close to what would become the Temple Mount. This location supports the idea that David's son Solomon would build the temple near his father's palace. The geographical link between the palace and the future temple matches the biblical account perfectly. Her final revelation, what Mazar said before her. As Eilat Mazar faced her final years, she focused on her discovery of the Palace of David as her lasting legacy. Despite cancer affecting her health, her passion for her work remained strong. She wanted to make a final statement, a thorough defense of her most debated claim. In her last interviews and publications, Mazar carefully built her argument, combining years of research, archaeological findings, and her firm belief in the historical accuracy of biblical texts. Mazar did not avoid the criticism she received. Instead, she addressed it directly, point by point. For those who said Jerusalem was too small for a royal palace, she provided detailed evidence showing the city's intricate history. She argued that the archaeological record was incomplete, not dismissive. The lack of evidence, she said, did not mean there was no evidence. Skeptics who disregarded the pottery findings found that she used this evidence as a key part of her argument. She published extensive comparisons showing how the pottery matched perfectly with 10th century BCE royal centers throughout the Near East. In her final works, Mazar introduced previously ignored artifacts supporting her claims. She used advanced techniques such as microscopic analysis of stone marks and carbon dating, and re-evaluated previously collected materials. She stressed the connection with the stepped stone structure, arguing that the architectural details were too deliberate to be a coincidence. This was not just a building, but part of a complex city planning project that could only have come from a strong royal authority. Mazar's work was personal for her. As her health worsened, she thought more deeply about her discovery. She described archaeology as more than a scientific study in private talks and final interviews. It was a conversation between the past and the present, a way to understand the complexity of human society. The palace was more than just rocks and pottery. It showed human ambition, organization, and cultural success. Mazar understood her discovery would outlast her. She began mentoring younger archaeologists, ensuring her method of using biblical texts as credible historical sources would continue. Her final message was clear. Archaeology is never final. It is an ongoing conversation, always open to new evidence and ideas. The Palace of David discovery wasn't a conclusion, but an invitation to keep exploring. In her last public interview, just months before she passed away, Mazar made a powerful statement. She was not just defending a specific archaeological idea, but advocating for a broader understanding of history that valued scientific evidence and cultural stories. Archaeology, she said, is about listening. Listening to stones, texts, and the voices of past generations. Sometimes those voices reveal richer and more beautiful stories than we ever thought. The legacy lives on. What this means for biblical history today. For 3,000 years, King David's palace lay hidden beneath Jerusalem. Archaeologist Dr. Eilat Mazar made a groundbreaking discovery before she died in 2021, challenging our understanding of biblical history. Mazar, born in 1956 into an archaeological family, believed the Bible could guide archaeological digs, unlike many of her skeptical peers. Her earlier work uncovered significant findings, which contributed to the debate between minimalists, who saw biblical stories as myth, and maximalists, who believed in their historical basis. In 2005, in the city of David, Mazar focused on a biblical clue suggesting David's palace lay on higher ground. She led an excavation that uncovered a large stone structure, measuring about 30 by 40 meters. This impressive building featured thick walls made from large stones, fitting a style typical of royal buildings, suggesting it could indeed be the palace of King David. Mazar's final claims and discoveries could reshape our understanding of biblical archaeology.